Okay, this is part 2 of your micrography face practice, and we're going to start adding value. So if you're unsure of your ability, I would say add the dark values first, which is what I'm going to start with. If you're really good at holding your Sharpie in the middle or at the end, especially using the Sharpie pens, then you could start in the light values, both of which will be demonstrated during this demonstration. So I say dark values first. We do want to completely avoid the eye, well, this area of the eye. The eyes completely, the mouth and the nose from the beginning. So I'm going to kind of work in some areas where if you mess up, it's not a big deal, like over here and here, and we'll slowly kind of work in here. So kind of hop around, do the easy stuff first, and we're saving hard for last. So the facial features are very difficult. You want to do like eyes last, refining of nose and mouth last. All right, so for the darker values, you're going to start in with your ultra fine Sharpie, and I'm going to go back in. Oh, sorry. First, what you need to decide is what word or words are you going to use? So I'm going to use woman. That's the word I'm going to use all over the place. I do think it's easier if you just stick with like kind of one word. Okay, so this is kind of medium. Remember, you can always go back and layer a little bit more. And I am going vertical because her hair is vertical. Okay, so I'm hopping around. Turn it so your arm is comfortable. You might want to have your pencil handy so you can kind of draw things that you maybe are now seeing you didn't draw before. I think I'm gonna do this one horizontally because I feel like it's a different direction than the hair. Remember, you could tell a story with this. You could write poetry. You could like journal if you wanted to write more personal things. Kind of depends on your style of working. Is that a little corner of the eye that I missed? Did I put that in there? Okay, so now, especially like here where it's curved, in order to kind of enhance the form of the face, you should go with her facial features. So along the side, I would curve it along the nostril. I'm gonna curve it in here in this dark part. And then that will be more obvious in her cheek as well. So I'm kind of making sure the eyes are like lining up with each other, and I didn't totally get that wrong. There's some little highlights to avoid in there. So if I have a highlighted area, I'm going to avoid it to start out with. Especially, even if you're starting in the highlighted areas, if you're doing like little highlights like in the nose and the mouth, etc., stay away from those for now. That would be a tomorrow thing. I'm kind of avoiding that eye. I'll come back to it. I'm just trying to get my darkest values. And in here I did delete out a little bit. I think I'm gonna go back and make this strand of hair a little bit thicker to get the curve in there. Okay, so along her lips, I'm gonna just like kind of dot so I don't lose that line, and I'll come back to it. So remember, you don't have to write the whole word. Okay, so I'm looking at my major dark areas. All right, so now I'm ready to start going back with some of my lighter values, or I'm sorry, darker midtones. So I'm gonna start in here, like to really kind of build up layers so that this part appears lighter. So again, turn it how your arm is comfortable, but I'm gonna try to curve it along the side of her nose. And I'm gonna write medium because I can always go back and make it darker. So I kind of stop, I look, I'm like, okay. Okay. I'm going to leave those strands of hair alone for now. Okay, I want to get kind of like the edge of her mouth so I could do her chin. So I was not adding as much as I probably need. Okay, I feel like I'm almost ready to switch Sharpies. I'm just double checking. Okay, I do feel like I'm ready to switch Sharpie. So I'm definitely gonna come back to this thicker Sharpie. Okay, so now I'm gonna do some of the lighter kind of midtones. And so in her cheek, like along the edge, I'm gonna do some overlap. in order to fade from some of those darkers into the midtones. And then like along the side of her face. Because it's not super bright, like along the bottom edge. But I am avoiding the highlight areas. Like here I'm avoiding, like in here, this part of the cheek. All right, so then I think I'm ready for the curvature of the nose. Then I'm gonna go back along the edge, so. I'm kind of going within my value map. Okay. All right, so then I'm gonna start going back and refining. So right here, I've lost the outline of the nose. So I'm gonna go back in and I'm going to look at where my value map is and right along the edge so I don't lose it. And then I'm gonna kind of fill in the gaps and kind of fade back out. So you kind of like mess up your value map and then you get close to it again and redefine it. Okay, so that's how you're gonna start in with your dark and midtones. And I'm gonna show you guys one last step where I'm gonna start fading in like in here where the highlight area is a little bit. So the highlight we wanna leave alone. So I'm like holding it like as close to the end as I can, like barely any pressure. So that way it's super light and kind of fades out. And then I can kind of blend in here at my next step. All right, so here's how you would start part 2. I will post a picture of all the steps in a Google Doc for you, and I'm gonna work on it before we come back and refine and do the eyes in part 3.